Savitri, the princess, has met Shraddhavan, and she's returned home to the palace to inform her parents. And when she reaches there, there's a great rishi, a great semi-divine being, Narad, is there. He's a singer and he's a seer. And of course his blessing is asked when Savitri tells that she has met this prince who's living in exile in the forest. His blessing is asked for the marriage. And Savitri's mother notices that something is not quite right, that he's not giving his blessing. And so what we read last week, she has asked, she says, this is the worst, an unknown face of fate. To know is best, however hard to bear. So now Narad is going to tell about Shraddhavan. The truth thou hast claimed, I give to thee the truth. A marvel of the meeting earth and heavens is he whom Savitri has chosen mid men. His figure is the front of nature's march. His single being excels the works of time. A sapphire cutting from the sleep of heaven, delightful is the soul of Shraddhavan. A ray out of the rapturous infinite, a silence waking to a hymn of joy. A divinity and kingliness gird his brow. His eyes keep a memory from a world of bliss. As brilliant as a lonely moon in heaven, gentle like the sweet bud that spring desires, pure like a stream that kisses silent banks, he takes with bright surprise spirit and sense. A living knot of golden paradise, a blue immense, he leans to the longing world. Time's joy borrowed out of eternity, a star of splendor or a rose of bliss. In him, soul and nature, equal presences, balance and fuse in a wide harmony. The happy in their bright ether have not hearts more sweet and true than this of mortal make, that takes all joy as the world's native gift, and to all gives joy as the world's natural right. His speech carries a light of inner truth, and a large-eyed communion with the power in common things has made veilless his mind. A seer in earth shapes of garbless deity. A tranquil breadth of sky, windless and still, watching the world like a mind of unplumbed thought, a silent space, musing and luminous, uncovered by the morning to delight. A green tangle of trees upon a happy hill, made into a murmuring nest by southern winds. These are his images and parallels, his kin in beauty, and in depth his peers. A will to climb lifts a delight to live. Heaven's height, companion of earth beauty's charm, an aspiration to the immortal's air, lain on the lap of mortal ecstasy. His sweetness and his joy attract all hearts to live with his own in a glad tenancy. His strength is like a tower built to reach heaven, a Godhead quarried from the stones of life. O loss, if death into its elements, of which his gracious envelope was built, shatter this vase before it breathes its sweets, as if earth could not keep too long from heaven a treasure thus unique, loaned by the gods, a being so rare, of so divine a make. In one brief year, when this bright hour flies back and perches careless on a branch of time, this sovereign glory ends, heaven lent to earth. This splendor vanishes from the mortal's sky. Heaven's greatness came, but was too great to stay. 12 swift-winged months are given to him and her. This day returning, Shraddhavan must die. So we'll go back to the beginning of the passage and we'll look at it in detail. Rosa, you'll begin? No? You start today. The truth. The truth. Yeah, come.
Thou hast claimed, I give to thee the truth. The marvel of the meeting, earth and heavens, is he whom Savitri has chosen, meet man. His figure is the front of nature's march. His single being excels the works of time.
Thank you. So the truth thou hast claimed. The queen has asked for the truth. He's going to give her the truth. So it all sounds very good to start with, no? He whom Savitri has chosen, this prince that she has chosen amid all the people she has met, he's a marvel, a wonder, who seems to be combining earth and heaven, not the qualities of the higher worlds and consciousness, and the best of the earth. So his figure, his appearance, it seems to be in the very forefront of the evolutionary progression, as if he's somebody who looks like a being from a new race, as Savitri herself does, no? So his figure is the front, in the forefront of this march, evolutionary march of nature. And his single being, he himself, in himself, just alone, excels all the works of time. He's better than anything else that time has produced. Is it clear? Anybody wants to ask anything? Yes. So nature is always moving forward. We don't notice it, but it's always moving forward. There's something driving nature forward. So it's like a march. We think of the march of time, but also evolution is moving forward. Well, of course, people tend to think that, oh, evolution has moved from matter to life to mind, and now human beings are the result, and they don't think that it's going to go any further. But in fact, it should get better, no? People and beings should become more conscious and more powerful and more delightful. Yeah? So Shraddhavan is somehow in the forefront. He's one of those who are leading that evolutionary march forward. Because his single being excels, goes beyond anything that time has managed to produce yet. So he goes on describing Shraddhavan.
A sapphire cutting from the sleep of heaven, delightful is the soul of Shraddhavan, a ray out of the rapturous infinite, a silence waking to a hymn of joy.
So these are beautiful poetic images to try and convey what Shraddhavan is like. He has spoken about his appearance, his figure. Now he speaks about his soul. He says his soul is like a piece of sapphire. You know what is sapphire? A beautiful blue gemstone. No? So he says it's as if that has been cut from the sleep of heaven. That sapphire color, actually, for us it recalls the sky, in that sense, the heaven. But it's also the color of the higher levels of consciousness, not the very, very highest ones, but higher levels of consciousness, higher mind. So it's as if something has been cut from that peaceful quiet of heaven, some substance has come, and that is Shraddhavan's soul. He's come, or his soul has come, like a ray out of the rapturous infinite, the infinite of ananda, of bliss, of delight. A ray is just like a single beam of sun or of moonlight. No? So this individual being of Shraddhavan is as if he's come as a ray. Handel.
Of divinity and giverliness, God his brow, his eyes keep of memory from a world of bliss. as brilliant as a lonely moon in heaven, gentle like the sweet fall that spring desires, pure like a stream that kisses silent banks. He takes with a bright surprise, spirit and sense.
Thank you. Sri Aurobindo, when he's describing his characters, what they look like, he often mentions the brow first. And it's as if on the brow our destiny is written, something very fundamental about this part of our face. So he says that his brow is girded. It's as if around his brow there's something expressing divinity and kingliness. It's natural that his brow should express kingliness. He's a prince, he's the son of a king. But in Shraddhavan there's something more. There's a light that is superhuman, divine. And there's something in the expression of his eyes, as if he's remembering those blissful higher worlds. So he's shining as brilliant as a lonely moon in heaven. There's something very, very beautiful, about the moon when we don't see any stars. Last night I saw it. We stepped out of here and there was the new moon, maybe it's at the third day? Yeah. It was not completely dark. The sky was a very, very beautiful blue, and there was just the moon. We couldn't see any stars. It's so beautiful. So this is an image of his beauty. At the same time, he's not only brilliant and shining, he's also gentle, soft, like the sweet bud that spring desires. Spring brings forward, the season of spring brings forward these lovely buds, very, very sweet and gentle. And he's also pure. There's purity, pure like one of those mountain streams that's running down through silent banks, as if the stream is kissing the banks as he passes. Water is, of course, always a symbol of purity, as a flow. So he takes with bright surprise spirit and sense. If you happen to see Shraddhavan, you will feel surprised delight, a bright surprise, both in your spirit and in your senses, inwardly and outwardly. Leela.
A living knot of golden paradise, a blue immense leans to the longing world. Time's joy borrowed out of eternity, a star of splendor, or a rose of bliss. In him, soul and nature, equal presences, balanced and fused in a wide harmony.
So golden paradise, of course, is vast. But here in a living human form, he's like a knot, a coming together of all the qualities of paradise. At the same time, there's something vast about him. This blue immense, like an Indian sky leaning down. He's leaning down to bless this world. This world, we feel blessed at this presence. So he brings with him something of the bliss of eternity. He brings a joy of time, here into time, something that seems to have been borrowed from eternity. He comes like a really blazing, splendid star. There's that brilliance and strength, and at the same time there's something like a lovely rose, a rose that's that brings the utter delight. And there's a balance in him, soul and nature. These are often things that we feel to be difficult to balance and to fuse, but in him, soul and nature are equal presences. It's not that nature is more and soul is less, or soul is more and nature is less. They're equal presences. They balance and they fuse. They become one in a wide harmony in his nature. Shiv?
The happy in their bright either have and not hearts, more sweet and true than this of mortal me, that takes all joy as the world's native gift, and to all gives joy as the world's natural pride.
So here he's speaking about Satyavan's heart. And he says the happy beings who live in the supraterrestrial worlds, in their bright ether. Ether is the most refined element. Our earthly physicists have told us that ether doesn't exist, but Sri Aurobindo refers to it often as the subtlest of the elements. Here it's in their bright ether, those happy, liberated souls who are living beyond the worlds in that golden paradise. Even their hearts are not more sweet and more bright than the heart of Satyavan. Satyavan's heart is of mortal make. It is human. It's a physical heart made of flesh and blood, but it's also pure and bright. No? And he says, Satyavan's heart takes all joy as the world's native gift, as if it's absolutely natural and normal that everything in the world should give joy to his heart. And at the same time, he gives joy to everyone and everything around him, as if it is their right to have whatever joy he can give them and share with them. I don't know your name, young lady from England.
Oh, sorry, it's Kirsten.
Kirsten, would you like to read?
His speech carries a light of inner truth, and a large-eyed communion with the power in common things has made veilless his mind. A seer in earth shapes of godless deity.
Yes, thank you. So when he speaks, the words that he says carry a light of inner truth. There's something convincing and true about the way that he speaks. And his mind has been in communion with the power in common things. If you remember back to the time when we were reading about the meeting between Savitri and Satyavan, this was one of the things that he spoke to her about, no? That he had a kind of power of subtle vision, and he felt in communication with the one power that is inhabiting all things. He felt that communion. So he's had that connection with the indwelling divinity, and it has been large-eyed. He's seen it in a very responsive way, and not with a narrow, clipped vision, in a wide, seeing way. So this has made his mind veilless. A veil is a covering, but there's no covering, no grey covering over his mind. His mind is absolutely clear and pure, and it can see things clearly as they really are. So, in earth shapes, in all these ordinary shapes, in all these common things, he can see garbless deity. Deity, the divine presence. Garbless. This is our garb, our clothes. No? Of course, we can see the deity everywhere, but we see him in all these garbs that he's wearing, all these disguises and forms. But if we could look through the garbs, we would see the deity garbless, unveiled. It's clear? We move on? Yeah? Would you like to read, sir? No? Joel.
A tranquil breath of sky windless and still, watching the world like a mind of unplanned thought, a silent space musing and luminous, uncovered by the morning to delight, a green tangle of trees upon a happy hill, made into a murmuring nest by southern winds. These are his images and parallels, his skin in beauty and in depth, his peers.
Yes. So we go to the end of the sentence where Narad says, these are his images and parallels, these evocations, these descriptions that he's been giving out of nature, of beautiful things that we can see and experience in nature. He says, these are the images, these are the pictures and the parallels to what Sattyavan is like. They are his kin in beauty, they are like him in beauty. Your kin are the people who are related to you, who are close to you. And these things which he's describing also have their depths. They have a quality of deepness. So he says they are his equals, his peers. Your peers are the people who are equal to you. Nowadays, the teachers and the psychologists, they speak about peer pressure in young people. You know, that they have to do things, they have to be like all the others because of peer pressure. Your peers are the people who, in that sense, are the same age as you are, who are your equals. So what are these things which are like Sattyavan, images of him? First of all, line 360, a tranquil breadth of sky, windless and still. A very peaceful, wide sky. Breadth is the noun from the word broad, which is like wide, no? Breadth. A breadth of sky, a sky in which there's no wind, no clouds, it's absolutely still and peaceful. Something like that, vast, still, beautiful. It's as if that sky is watching the world like a mind of unplumbed thought. So that sky blue, it's the color of mind, of higher mind. So if we think of the sky as if it is looking down on us, that particular sky is windless and still, and it's like a mind in which the thought is very, very deep, unplumbed. When we want to know how deep something is, we tie a piece of lead on a rope and we put it down. We see, can we reach the bottom? How deep will it go? If something is unplumbed, we can't find how deep it is. It's so deep. Or it's like, perhaps not on the sky, on the earth, a silent space, a lovely open plain, musing. It's also very peaceful, full of light. And the dawn has come up on this luminous open space and uncovered it to delight. If there's delight, there's some liveliness there. That's another image of what Shraddhavan appears to be, what he is in his nature. Or another image is a hill, and on the top of it a group of trees in full leaf, a green tangle of trees. The trees are very close together. It's a little wooded spot like we see in our Nilgiris if we go up and we see those shola forests, something like that, no? And coming to those trees on top of that hill, there's a wind from the south. Now the wind from the south has started coming, no? It's quite different from the wind from the north, no? All through the winter we've been cold, and now it's something warm and gentle is coming, no? So that tangle of trees, they've become like a happy nest. They're a home for something. No? He says these are his images and his parallels. His kin in beauty, he's as beautiful as any of those things. He's also as deep as that sky, that space, that forest. Mahalingam.
Will to climb.
That's right. Yes, please, Mahalingam.
The will to claim it's a delight to live. Heaven's sight, companion of earth beauty's charm, an aspiration in the immortal sphere, laying on the lap of mortal ecstasy.
Yes. So, something can be very beautiful and very spiritual, very peaceful and tranquil. But here Shraddhavan has also not only this delight, this quality of receiving and giving joy, he also has a will to climb. He has the will for progress, for rising to higher levels. So that height of heaven becomes the companion of the charm of earth beauty. In him there's an aspiration to another air, not our earthly air, the immortal's air. And at the same time that aspiration is supported like a child on its mother's lap. It's lain on the lap of mortal ecstasy, Ecstasy is intense delight. No? So the most intense delight that we can have here in this world that is subject to death, that we mortals can be, that aspiration for the immortal's air is carried, supported on the lap. This is your lap of mortal ecstasy, like the child on its mother's knee. Pandian, yeah.
His sweetness and his joy attract to all hearts. To live with his word in a glad tendency. His strength is like to tower lit to reach heaven. A bowhead borrowed from the stones of life.
Yes. So, his sweetness, his joy attract all hearts, anybody who sees him, no? Is attracted to live with his heart in this glad tenancy. Tenancy has to do with being a tenant. You know? That means that you are holding the right to live somewhere for some time. A tenant. You don't own the house, but still you're allowed to stay there, be there for some time. So that is his sweetness. But he doesn't have only sweetness, he also has strength. He's a young prince, he's going to be a king. It's like a tower built to reach heaven, a really strong tower with strong foundations that's going to be reaching right up to the skies. A Godhead, an individual divine presence that has been quarried from the stones of life. If you want to build a strong, high tower, you have to cut the stones from somewhere. So there will be a quarry. I think of Piero going to the quarries in the Alps to find the marble for the Matrimandir, no? And to find just the right quarry that had the right marble, and to see that it was cut perfectly and shipped here. So, quarry. So, Satyavan's nature, his strength, has been quarried from the stones of life. This is out of all the strong possibilities, the possibilities of strength and stability in life. His strength has been quarried from there. Alexei?
Follows the death into its elements, of which his gracious envelope was built, shattered its vast before it breathes and sweets, as if earth could not keep too long from heaven, a treasure just beneath, blown by the gods, a being so rare, but so divine and made.
Thank you. So Narad says, what a loss, what a terrible loss. If death dissolves these elements, all this strength and this sweetness and this sapphire cutting from heaven and all these different elements of which his gracious envelope, this beautiful physical form of Satyavan has been built. And then he says that form, that beautiful physical form, is like a vase, like a precious vase. A vase is meant to contain something. So the physical body is like a vase to contain our inner being. So he says, what if this vase gets shattered before it's had time to breathe its sweets? This is the idea that it contains some wonderful perfume, and it won't have had time to spread all the sweet things that are within it, to share with the world, as if earth could not keep too long from heaven this treasure, this unique treasure. It's just been lent to us by the gods, this beautiful being, Shraddhavan, and it's been lent to us in this vase, in this bodily form. What if that form gets shattered before it can share all those wonderful things that it's carrying within it? This being who's so rare, so unusual. Rare is the opposite of common, ordinary. So it doesn't mean only that we rarely come across such a being. It means also that it's a very refined being, something very special, unique, of so divine a make. Earlier on he said that his heart was of mortal make. So it is a human heart, but the whole nature, there's something divine about the way that it's made. What a loss if that gets broken. But it's going to get broken. That's what he says in the last sentence, Sergei.
In one brief year, when this bright hour lies back, and perches careless in the branch of time, this sovereign glory ends heaven, land, the earth. This splendor vanishes from the mortal's sky. Heaven's greatness came, but was too great to stay. 12 swift winged months are given to him and fell. This day returned, Shraddhavan must die.
So in exactly 1 year's time, when this day returns after 12 months, Shraddhavan must die. So only 12 months, swift-winged months. So the image that has been given for these lines. Here is Narad, and here he's watching the swift-winged months in the form of birds. They're flying away. And when this month and this day flies back to perch upon a branch of time, then this sovereign glory, this glory that is Shraddhavan, it will end. Heaven has lent it to the earth, but it will be taken away again. This splendor will vanish from the mortal sky. And he doesn't say will, he uses the present tense, vanishes. This is fixed, this is destiny. He can see it because he has this power of seeing the future. Shraddhavan must die. Heaven's greatness came, but it was too great to stay, too great to remain with us. Revati, you want to read?
The lightning bright and the noon, the sentence fell. But the king cried, when then can we heaven's grace? Heaven mocks us with the brilliance of its gifts. For death is a cupbearer of the wine. Of two breed, joined hand up to mortal mates. For a passing moment, by the careless thoughts.
So he speaks these words and it's like a flash of lightning. No. Bright, nude, it's not covered with anything. The sentence, as if it's a punishment. The judge gives a sentence. No? This is what must happen. So the queen cries out immediately. She says, then this grace of heaven, this generosity, it can be just futile, without meaning, without effect. Heaven is just making fun of us by giving us these brilliant gifts, mocking us, because death is the cup-bearer, is bringing this cup for us to drink, this wine of too brief joy. He's 1 year's time. What is that in a marriage that's meant to be for a lifetime? Oh. It's just held up. She will be given a passionate moment. And the gods don't care. They are careless. They don't have any particular purpose. They're just playing with us human beings. Gumsun?
But I reject the grace and the mockery. Mounting the car to talk, O Savitri, and travel once more through the triple lands. Alas, in the green gladness of the woods, thy hot head stooped to a misleading form.
Thank you. So she says, well, if the gods are offering us this, if they've made death their cupbearer, no, she says, I will reject it. I will reject the grace and this mockery of the gods. So Savitri, please, off you go again. No? Go forth again, travel once more through the peopled lands. She's just spent 1 year traveling around. She's found Satyavan. But her mother says, in that green gladness of the woods where you met him, your heart has stooped, leaned down to a misleading call. It wasn't the real inner guidance. You've made a mistake. Bhavana.
Choose once again and leave this fated head. Death is the gardener of this wandered tree. Love's sweetness sleeps in his pale marble hand, advancing in a honeyed line, but told a little joy would buy too bitter an end.
Thank you. So she says, you must go and choose again. You leave Satyavan, this fated head, this boy who's got bad destiny on his head. It may look like a wonder tree, or it is, but death is the gardener. And all the sweetness of love is sleeping in his pale marble hand, the hand of death. This may look like a way of delight. It's a honeyed line. Honey is something sweet, delightful, but it's closed, it's a dead end. No? The little joy that you will get in your 12 months will buy too bitter an end. You will suffer all the more. No? So we'll stop there for today. We have time to read these lines together. So we go back to the bottom of page 429. The truth thou hast claimed, I give to thee the truth. A marvel of the meeting earth and heavens is he whom Savitri has chosen mid men. His figure is the front of nature's march. His single being excels the works of time. A sapphire cutting from the sleep of heaven, delightful is the soul of Shraddhavan. A ray out of the rapturous infinite, a silence waking to a hymn of joy. A divinity and kingliness gird his brow. His eyes keep a memory from a world of bliss. As brilliant as a lonely moon in heaven, gentle like the sweet bud that spring desires, pure like a stream that kisses silent banks, he takes with bright surprise spirit and sense, a living knot of golden paradise, a blue immense. He leans to the longing world. Time's joy borrowed out of eternity, a star of splendor or a rose of bliss. In him soul and nature equal presences balance and fuse in a wide harmony. The happy in their bright ether have not hearts more sweet and true than this of mortal make, that takes all joy as the world's native gift, and to all gives joy as the world's natural right. His speech carries a light of inner truth, and a large-eyed communion with the power in common things has made veilless his mind, a seer in earth shapes of garbless deity. A tranquil breadth of sky, windless and still, watching the world like a mind of unplumbed thought. A silent space, musing and luminous, uncovered by the morning to delight. A green tangle of trees upon a happy hill, made into a murmuring nest by southern winds. These are his images and parallels, his kin in beauty, and in depth his peers. A will to climb lifts a delight to live. Heaven's height, companion of earth beauty's charm. An aspiration to the immortal's air, lain on the lap of mortal ecstasy. His sweetness and his joy attract all hearts to live with his own in a glad tenancy. His strength is like a tower built to reach heaven, a Godhead quarried from the stones of life. O loss, if death into its elements, of which his gracious envelope was built, shatter this vase before it breathes its sweets, as if earth could not keep too long from heaven a treasure thus unique, loaned by the gods, a being so rare, of so divine a make. In one brief year, when this bright hour flies back and perches careless on a branch of time, this sovereign glory ends, heaven lent to earth. This splendor vanishes from the mortal sky. Heaven's greatness came, but was too great to stay. 12 swift-winged months are given to him and her. This day returning, Shraddhavan must die. A lightning bright and nude the sentence fell. But the queen cried, "Vain then can be heaven's grace. Heaven mocks us with the brilliance of its gifts, for death is a cup-bearer of the wine of too brief joy held up to mortal lips for a passionate moment by the careless gods. But I reject the grace and the mockery. Mounting thy car, go forth, O Savitri, and travel once more through the peopled lands. Alas, in the green gladness of the woods, thy heart has stooped to a misleading call. Choose once again, and leave this fated head. Death is the gardener of this wonder tree. Love's sweetness sleeps in his pale marble hand. Advancing in a honeyed line, but closed, a little joy would buy too bitter an end.